Okay, we have quorum. Mahalo, Dennis.
Mahalo.
This meeting of the Hawaiian Homes Commission is being called to order. The meeting is being held via teleconference, moderated by me, William Isla Jr., from the DHHL office, Halepono'i, 915420 Kapolei Parkway, Kapolei, Oahu, Hawaii, and today's date is Tuesday, October the 20th, 2020. The time is now 9:35. Pursuant to the governor's 14th proclamation related to the COVID emergency, Hawaii Revised Statutes, Chapter 92, regarding public agency meetings and records is currently suspended through November 30th, 2020. To the extent necessary to enable boards to conduct business without holding meetings open to the public and to allow state agencies the ability to effectively and efficiently provide emergency relief and to engage in emergency management functions. At this time, we are able to live stream this meeting via DHHL website. Leah, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Owo,
Here.
Commissioner Helm,
Here.
Commissioner Ka'ahu. Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Ka'ahu asked to be excused this morning. Commissioner Kulekini. Okay, he should be joining us in a few seconds. Commissioner Kaupu.
Here.
Commissioner Namu'o.
Here.
Commissioner Neves.
Aye.
Commissioner Teruya.
Here.
Chair Isla.
Present.
We have seven members present at this time. We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. We received one late public testimony yesterday on the agendized items that came from Glenn Tevis. You should all have it emailed to you. Okay, so we'll go to the agenda. Items for decision-making plan.
William,
Yes. Go ahead, Randy.
while we're on public testimony, I would like to revisit the agenda real quick.
Okay, since I just referred to public testimony, would you like to do it now?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, Randy.
So this is in regards to Donna Sterling, her submittal on J4. And so I just wanted to acknowledge her submittal and then kind of go over some of what she's asking for us to consider. And it's in reference to 22 vacant lots that were in Kahiki Nui. And just to summarize, there's some things that I think I understand and some things that are not entirely clear to me. So I think part of what she's trying to do, she's advocating on behalf of beneficiaries who I believe want to be part of the Kahiki Nui community. And then though, as part of her resolution, she's wanting to assist in the disposition of those 22 vacant lots. And part of what I see here that I think needs clarification from the department, it's kind of skirting the gray area between advocacy and taking on the kuleana of the department. So I see the value of community engagement and initiative in trying to participate in resolving some of these issues, but I think the department may want to take a closer look at whether or not some of what's being recommended is appropriate. So I defer to the department on that.
Okay, Randy, thank you for bringing that up and for sharing your concern about it. We have the procedures that we do. This is outside of the procedures that we do. It'll be outlined in a response to her.
Okay, thank you. And while we're on J agenda, I wanted to revisit J7. This is the Pana Eva situation. And, this Tivita and Sione Moala and the level of terror and fear they impose upon their community continues to concern me. I recognize the department is very limited in what it can actually do. But this one, it took me back to, I think it's been 4 years now when I became a commissioner. And it was my second meeting when we were in Hilo. And it was kupuna after kupuna coming up before us. I think it was Maku'u, and expressing similar fears that they have been dealing with in their neighborhoods. And then I think back about last month's testimony from Nana Kuli, that family who, what they were describing is just incredible. For anyone to have to live under those conditions, it's just not right. So short of having a solution because of the department's challenges with resources, I think what's being offered here from Sue Liloy, council member from the Big Island, the department should really jump on that opportunity to work with this council member, because a council member is a more direct conduit to the Hilo County Police Department. And if she is opening the door to find a solution, I hope the department will work very closely with her, because the county council does have some leverage, I think, on our police departments. And maybe it may not require legislation as she's suggesting. They may be able to open the door to have a discussion where a memorandum of understanding might be able to be formulated. And so that's my hope, that we latch on to these opportunities to try to make things better for our beneficiaries. And that's all I have.
Okay, I appreciate what you're sharing, Randy. It is not like the department is just sitting back. We have been in discussions with Hawaii Island PD. I think 3 days ago, I had a conversation with the police chief and the deputy chief. We have spoken with Mitch Roth, but he's 14 days away from an election, so he doesn't have as much time to, I think, provide us, in his professional opinion, what he's done so in the past. So I just didn't want you thinking that the department is just sitting back and not doing anything. But our options are limited. And if you want to have a conversation that could be very frustrating, I'd be happy to set up some time in an executive session to understand the discussions that we've had with our own AGs about what is possible under the lease and whether or not legislation is changed. The overriding document that sort of governs our ability to take action on a beneficiary is based upon the lease and what is the language of the lease. That's why we worked so hard to change the language of the lease the last time around. So I don't want to give you hope that a solution is right around the corner, but I do want you to understand that we have had many frustrating meetings, turning over every rock to try to find a way to help beneficiaries in these and other situations.
Yeah, well, Thank you for that. I appreciate the update, and I do understand the challenges that the department continues to face. I do appreciate the update and the effort that the department continues to make to turn over every stone. I just think when all I'm saying is when this council member makes an offer to the department, it's another tool on the belt as you continue to turn over every stone. That's all I'm saying.
Okay,
Thank
mahalo. We are responding to her and we will work as best as we can with her.
Okay, thank you.
Any other excuse me, any other public testimony commissioners want to? Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I just wanted to add on a little bit to Commissioner Owo's comments. Thank you, Randy, for your comments. And, you know, I fully agree. I mean, there's so much going on statewide, but I have been near and dear to the ones here, specifically the Pane'eva situation. And so I know yesterday we spoke, and, you know, one thing that we can do is a contested case with regards to the lease. And, you know, if the situation warrants it, that's the route I think that us as a department or the commission can pursue for this particular situation only in Pane'eva. Those are my thoughts.
Okay.
And keep the doors open to work with the county. I agree with that totally. I don't want to leave that out. Appreciate the Councilwoman Liloy for sending that in.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Other commissioners on public testimony? Okay, seeing none, we'll move forward with the agenda and go to agenda item G4.
Hello, Commissioners. Andrew Choi, Acting Planning Program Manager. Item G4, the recommended motion is that the Hawaiian Homes Commission issue a finding of no significant impact declaration based on the final environmental assessment for the dhhl Hanapepe Homestead community in Hanapepe, District of Waimea, Kaua'i Island for TMKs 418-007, 003, 021, 018, and TMK 418-008, 035, 081, 086, and 087.
Okay. May I have a motion to consider staff recommendation?
So moved.
Okay.
Commissioners, with me today, I have Nancy McPherson, the project manager for this effort. So I will hand it off to Nancy.
Aloha mai kako, commissioners. Nancy McPherson, planning office. I just want to say a few brief words about this project. It's really been a privilege to work on it. In the Kaua'i Island plan, development in Hanapepe was the second priority after Wailua, but Senator Kaua'i and the state legislature have facilitated this project with funding. So, you know, we really have been very blessed to get this going in Hanapepe. It's a very desirable area, close to jobs, infrastructure is accessible. The main difference, and this will also be going into item G5, I'll talk a little bit more about that, but the main difference with the Kaua'i Island plan was a further refining of the land suitability analysis, which resulted in adding special district and conservation land use designations. And this was really a joint project with LDD. Our consultants, SSFM, the planning office, and LDD have worked very closely to work out issues with infrastructure, namely water and traffic, as the project borders Kaumuali'i Highway. And we've also been working very closely with County of Kaua'i, and they've been very supportive as well. So I think at this point, we're going to ask our consultants to do a PowerPoint presentation. Unless you...
Thank you, Nancy.
Aloha,
Uh,
Chair. Good morning. Oh, go ahead, Nancy.
Oh, I was just going to say, this is Jared Chang, our lead planner from SSFM International, and he was in charge of the environmental assessment process.
Thanks, Nancy. Good morning, Chair. Good morning, Commission members, commissioners. I'm going to share my screen now. I have the PowerPoint loaded up. And then I'll do a high-level overview of the project, and hopefully we can be able to answer any questions you might have. You guys can see my screen okay?
Yes.
I'm on the opening slide. Okay, so covering the final environmental assessment and the finding of no significant impact. As Nancy said, I'm from SSFM International, the consultant working on this project with them. The purpose of the project, to provide residential and agricultural homesteading opportunities to DHHL's waitlist beneficiaries. And this is consistent and in support of DHHL's mission to manage the Hawaiian Homelands Trust effectively and to develop and deliver lands to Native Hawaiians. So here's the project goal, is basically to conduct planning and identify the permitting necessary for the additional homestead opportunities. Here's our project site. It's bifurcated by Kaua'i Highway. So there's a Mauka site and a Makai site. The Mauka site is about just under 360 acres. The Makai site is about 5 to 6 acres. It has currently, I think, 4 industrial leases on that are current. The Mauka site is vacant. It has been in ag use for a long time. To the west is Gay and Robinson lands, still in ag. And to the east is the Hanapepe Heights residential subdivision. And below that is the historic Hanapepe town. So our objectives on this project, basically to focus on doing this in a timely manner, getting through the EA process and the update of the island plan land use map. We really wanted to involve and coordinate with all the beneficiaries and other stakeholders in identifying the land uses appropriate for this area, to meet the needs of beneficiaries and reflect the character of Hanapepe. And we also want to make sure that we aligned as much as possible with the existing county and community land use plans and visions for the area, for the west side. So we started with the 2004 Kaua'i Island Plan land use map. It's shown here. This plan identified land uses and infrastructure anticipated needed for the site. At the time, Hanapepe was identified as one of 3 priority areas for Kaua'i, based on the waitlist preference and the cost. The Mauka lands above Kaua'i Highway have some of the best agricultural lands within DHHL's holdings, so it makes it ideal for subsistence ag. And its location overall next to the Hanapepe Town Center is a benefit to the residents because of that proximity. So it's an ideal site for homestead development. Here is the preferred land use plan that we ended up with. I'd like to point out that this was very strongly supported by the beneficiaries and the community through our meetings with them. I'm going to highlight some of the key features of this plan. So what we ended up doing is moving all of the residential primarily to the eastern portion of the Mauka site. That moves it from the lower portion in the 2004 plan. There's a benefit to this because of keeping the residential together, allows us to take advantage of the infrastructure that's already coming up Moy Road. So it saves some money there. And it also helps to preserve some of the view planes below, from above. So we've also maintained the commercial and community use acreages to be basically about the same as was identified in the Kauai Island Plan. And those uses are primarily along the highway, Kaua'i Highway down at the bottom of the Mauka site. We didn't change any of the uses on the Makai site, so those would remain as is, as commercial. We do have some additional commercial areas along the bottom of the Mauka parcel that's a little different from the 2004 plan. And I did cover, I guess, the rest of these slides. So I'm going to go a little bit more into each of the land uses. So we have about 157 acres of subsistence agriculture. That equates to about 111 lots, up to 3 acres in size. That means that lessees are required to actively cultivate subsistence agriculture, or they can reside and cultivate agriculture on the lot. They are expected to use that food for their own home consumption, or they can sell it commercially. This plan has about 126 acres accounted for in the residential land use. That equates to about 449 new lots, approximately 7,500 square feet or less in size, give or take. These would be built to county standards, subdivision standards, and take advantage of existing infrastructure in the area to the extent possible. Phase 2 of this project, so phase 1 was the existing 47 lots along Moy Road. These are existing lessees there. Phase 2 would include up to 75 new residential lots, and the rest of the build out we had considered as phase 3 for the project in the EA process. Just to round this out, we had 13 acres of commercial land use down at the southwest corner of the Mauka, down at the bottom of the Mauka parcel and within the Makai parcel. We had 26 acres of community use down in the southwest corner of the Mauka parcel. Some things we heard of from the beneficiaries and the stakeholders, they wanted to use this for community building. Some uses included possible parks, areas for culture activities, areas for community-based economic development, utilities and other facilities and amenities that came through the outreach process. Something new, like Nancy had mentioned, we included a special district and a conservation district. So the special district is basically the areas that would be very hard to develop for residential or subsistence ag lots. These are areas within Kukamahu Gulch that is sort of in the middle of the parcel there. You can see it in the orange, the solid orange. They're essentially natural hazard area. It's the stream channel that cuts through the parcel. We're leaving it open for what types of uses can go there. Some possible uses could be for ag also, or just leaving it as open space or stormwater management. Conservation are areas that are on both sides of the gulch that include steep slopes, so slopes over 20%, which is very steep and hard to develop on. So these we want to keep for preservation or open space. Moving on, so just highlighting the area on the Mauka parcel where phase 2 would go. These are the additional 75 new lots up to about 7,500 square feet. They would be placed behind the existing lots along Moy Road and using the current stub outs off of Moy Road for access. There's 2 right now on Ahi Road and Ali'i Road. And I just would like to highlight also that in phase 1, so as part of our consideration for the EA process, we had looked at extending, by increasing the sizes of the existing lots on Moy Road from about 5,000 square feet, that's what they are right now, to about 7,500 square feet to match up with the new lots that are coming in phase 2. And we basically found that there was no substantial impact to that, and we had considered that in all of our preliminary design studies. So I'm just going to cover the infrastructure at a high level, basically starting with potable water. We had conducted a water master plan for this project where we had took all of the regional demands from Hanapepe leading into the county system and did a model to identify how much capacity there might be in the system to serve at least phase 2 and look at what would it take to serve the full build out. So what we have found in our model is that the full build out actually could be handled by the current system. And phase 2 definitely is possible to be handled by the current county system. So we're looking at connecting to the 12-inch water line along Moy Road to serve phase 2. And it's for water, it's a first come, first serve deal. So the sooner you can get in there and secure your water, the better. With the long-term plans for full build out, there's still, other developments that are being planned around. So at this time, it looks like the capacity for the existing system works for the full build out, but that is something that has to be further looked at kind of down the road. The other alternative that we had considered in the event that there was not enough water, the county system was, developing a private system for DHHL, and we had identified some potential locations for a new well site and storage areas, as well as a distribution system. The irrigation water right now would be through the county system, so through the potable water system. DHHL, the department, is going to continue talks with Gay and Robinson. We had been coordinating with them and talking with them about possibly getting some of their R2 water for irrigation to support the subsistence ag lots. So those discussions will continue, but the backup plan is to just use the county system, which we did account for those demands in our water study. Again, the alternative, if you didn't have enough water in the county system, was to go through the private system. But for the EA purposes, we did not include that. So we are assuming connection to the county system. For wastewater, again, we did a wastewater master plan study to identify the capacity of the current system. And the good news is that the county system has enough capacity for the next phase and likely for full build out of this project, based on some assumptions that the distribution system to get the wastewater to the LA sewer plant is maintained and has the capacity that we is correct with what we know of today. The individual wastewater systems will be provided for the subsistence ag lots. They're all for under 1 acre too. Long-term alternative, if capacity is an issue in the long-term future, then you probably have to discuss with the county what kind of expansion alternatives are available or are in their plans to expand the capacity of the LA system. But those would not come with phase 2, which is in the near future, and possibly with full build out if there are other developments that come online outside of DHHL. Drainage, we did a drainage master plan also. This is a watershed that consists of 1,600 acres of ag lands and 84 acres of single family residential lands. There are 2 major discharge points where runoff exits the site. That's through Kukamahu Gulch on Moy Road and near Kane Road. So what it boiled down to is that we had identified about 11 stormwater detention basins to serve the full project, the full build out. So there are 10 within the Mauka site and 1 within the Makai site. So no real issues there. Roads, so we, just like any other EA, we had conducted a traffic impact assessment report to look at demands on roads in the area. We have worked it out with DOT, and I continue to working with them and the county to try and get all of these improvements for the roads timed right, if that's for lack of a better term. So we have talked about with the county, and they support adding a new roundabout possibly at Lele Road down there on Kaua'i Highway to alleviate some of the issues with that intersection. If you're coming down Kaua'i Highway, guys drive pretty fast, and it's the visibility for that area as a driver is kind of hard. So a roundabout and some safety improvements over there are important. We also have another access road to the southwest corner of the Mauka site. So that will be an additional access point off Kaua'i Highway to get into the community use areas, the subsistence ag proposed for that area, and also the commercial areas on that part of the parcel. Something to also consider in the future is a possible gulch crossing to connect the 2 areas in the Mauka side, the 2 subsistence ag areas. So we consider that also. Some of the other improvements shown on this plan include minor improvements along Kaua'i Highway just to make sure that left turns are safer and that the operations for some of these intersections work out a little better. These are some of the things that we found in our traffic impact assessment report, including a possible new roundabout that might be needed for Kane Road over to the right side of that figure. These things would have to be coordinated with the county as well as DOT. Kaua'i Highway is a DOT facility. So those talks will keep going, but for phase 2 right now, not a big issue, I guess, for the 75 new lots. So this is considering full build out, just to recap that. Electrical power, no real issues here. There are existing facilities, like I said, along Moy Road. So we'll be connecting to that. The electrical will be underground. That's what we had considered at this time. They would be, the new electrical facilities would be under the new roads and within the road right of way. Communications, telephone services would be provided by Sandwich Isles Communications. For the new lots, same as the existing 47 lots there. They would be underground as much as possible, if feasible, and extended from overhead lines along Kaua'i Highway and Moy Road. TV services would be provided by Hawaiian Telecom that's already serving this area. So this is just a list of the agencies, individuals that commented on our draft EA. Not a lot of comments that we got, and we did pick up all of the comments into the final EA. So just some of the ones to highlight. Highways Division had some questions about our traffic impact assessment. So we had brought in some of the additional information that they had on new developments there going around in Hanapepe. So we updated that report and got it into the final. Clean Air Branch, nothing substantial. Commission on Water Resource Management asked us to make sure that we were consistent with the state water plan. And so we brought those, a stronger discussion on that in. Department of Land and Natural Resources, not too much. Kaua'i has a lot of seabirds, water birds that you need to be aware of when you're doing construction. So we did make sure that we got those mitigations in there. Things like when not to do construction during the fledgling season. We got a nice letter of support from Councilmember Cowden for the project. We did get another letter of support from the planning department acknowledging that what we were proposing in our land use plan was consistent with the West Kauai plan and their updates that are going through council right now. Department of Water, no issues there. They said it's a first come, first served basis. They're currently reviewing our latest water model, and we expect comments from them shortly within the next 2 months. And we got some comments from Malia Nobrega Oliveira. She was attending some of our meetings and provided some good updates for our EA, just some clarifications on our cultural impact section. Oops. So this is basically the last component of our stakeholder engagement process that we have in this project. We had done quite a bit over the last 2.5 years or so. Landowner coordinations, we had a survey. We've had 3 beneficiary consultation meetings, 2 community meetings, a lessee meeting, all the consultations that come with the EA. And now we're here to present the final EA and the FONSI request. And this is the last of that. So just a second to the last slide, just a quick overview of our project schedule. We started in the later part of 2018. Like Nancy said, we had conducted a pretty extensive land suitability analysis to help us identify where to put the land uses, and that informed our land use plan. Following that, we had done the infrastructure assessments. These were all the master plans for the engineering and the technical studies for the environmental assessment. We're very close to wrapping up the EA. With your approval, we will publish it hopefully in the next month. And then following this process, it's going to move into design and engineering with LDD. They have, I guess, expect to start the engineering for the subdivision for the next phase of 75 lots, and anticipate construction and awards to occur within the next 5 to 8 years. Funding contingent, and full build out of the site we had anticipated to happen over the next 20 years. So that's phase 3, anything beyond the next 75 lots. And that's the overview. I hope to stick around and answer any questions you have. Mahalo.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, I thank you, Jared. That was a great presentation. And a couple things I wanted to mention, that this project was, when we did the draft EA was presented to the commission back in March, at your March 21st meeting, for information. So I hope everybody remembers that was on the commission at the time. And I also wanted to compliment Commissioner Nevis because he attended all the beneficiary consultation and community meetings, and it was really great to have him there. And I think it was very reassuring to the applicants, the beneficiaries. And I also wanted to mention that we translated into Olelo Ni'ihau because a number of the applicants are from Ni'ihau, and Olelo Ni'ihau is their first language. So that was really an exciting component to the project, to include translation in Olelo Ni'ihau. So yeah, if commissioners have questions.
Good, Patty.
Hi. Thank you. Thank you for the presentation.
Okay.
What is going on? Okay.
Yeah, Patty, you're coming in and out.
Well, there's a lot of noise, so I'm not speaking it. Okay, now I can speak.
Okay, now you're loud and clear.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I wasn't here at that time in March as a commissioner, so I have a few questions on. So fortunate that our Senate President allocated $1 million in 2018, and I guess that money is allocated for planning. So does the department go back to the ledge to get design and construction funds for this project?
Just a point of clarification, $1 million was allocated for both planning and design. So
Okay.
we do have monies for the engineering design work, but we do have to go back to the legislature for construction funds for the phase 2 75 lots.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. And the other question that you mentioned was the telecommunication line, and I kind of got me awakened. So Sandwich Isle would be still working with this project for Wi-Fi and internet.
As you folks know, the situation with Sandwich Isle communication is fluid. We had to make an assumption at the time about how telecommunications would be provided to our homestead. So based on information we have had at the time, it was Sandwich Isles, but I think the point is that we would be providing telecommunications to the homestead area. What provider that is open to discussion in the future. It is, as you know, the situation with Sandwich Isles is fluid.
And then the last one was, he made a statement, and it kind of, can you deliberate on that? When you said on the county system, water system, is a first come, first served basis, what do you mean by that?
So that's a really good policy question, Commissioner. What we mean by that is that the county has indicated to us that they have available water credits for our next phase. We need to apply for those water credits in order to reserve them. And actually, Commissioner, that question touches upon a larger policy issue that we hope to address through legislation. As you recall, in last month's September meeting, one of the proposed bills that we had recommended for the Commission's consideration to include in the Governor's legislative package was to work more directly and more closely with County Department of Water Supplies so that we could have the ability to reserve available credits from the County Department of Water Supply for the department's use. The current law doesn't allow us to reserve water credits from the County Department of Water Supply. It only allows us to make a water reservation to the State Commission of Water Resource Management for the either sustainable yield for groundwater or in-stream flow from streams. So we are trying to work more closely with the County Department of Water Supplies in order to make sure that we can get the needed water for our future homestead developments from them.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Dennis?
Yes, well, there's plenty of people to thank on this first Senate President Ron Kaua'i in the 2018 state legislature for allocating $1 million to this project. I know the community is very excited. I'd like to thank Jared and his staff for working with the community. Being a new commissioner on the first meeting, I can be a little forward with our beneficiaries, as you probably noted. And I told the beneficiaries that this has to be their plan. This can't be Hawaiian Homes' plan. They need to get involved. So I was happy to be at those meetings to listen to the Nihauen dialect, which was interesting, and trying to interface with those folks was fun. Also, by the time we got to that last slide where we started talking about how we're going to plan the community, I thought it was very well done. Thank Nancy and Erna and all those that were involved. I got a chance to walk around the room and talk to groups about what if we put things here, or what are we going to? Are you going to have a problem with this here? It was sort of like playing checkers, but it was a great opportunity for the community to say, "Wow, I'm involved in this. I can really make this happen." So I think the final product is basically what I was looking for. We as Hawaiians, we as beneficiaries have to design this community, accept it. Once we accept it, now that's our kuleana. So I'd like to thank the staff, everyone that was involved. I think it was a great opportunity. I'd like to continue this with also our pool pie and our Anahola Kuleana area. It was just a great experience, and thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Dennis. Other commissioners, questions? Don't see any.
Can I say something?
Nancy, go ahead.
Yeah, I was remiss in not, thank you, Commissioner Nevis, for mentioning Erna Kamibayashi, because honestly, it would have been 20 times harder to do this if it hadn't been for Erna's support. She's an amazing person managing that office over there on Kaua'i, so we're really grateful for her support.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you, Nancy. Okay, if there are no other questions or comments, commissioners, all those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Does anyone object? Seeing no objections, the motion is carried. Andrew, you may proceed to G5.
Commissioners, item G5, the recommended motion is that the Hawaiian Homes Commission approve an amendment to the Kaua'i Island Plan 2004 to apply and adjust subsistence agriculture, residential homestead, community use, commercial, special district, and conservation land use designations to the land use plan for the Moka lands in Hanapepe.
Okay, commissioners, can I have a motion to consider staff recommendation?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, Andrew?
Nancy will do a brief presentation.
Yeah. Okay, so when we do master planning, We refine, as was mentioned in the previous submittal, we refine based on newer information, newer techniques, GIS, better analysis. The Kaua'i Island Plan was done a while ago, and it's kind of usually a higher level land suitability analysis. So we're refining it during the master planning process. What then happens is that we make adjustments to those land use designations as we did in this case. So that necessitates amending the Kaua'i Island Plan to reflect a new set of land use designations. We, as Jared explained, we kind of rejiggered them, and then we realized that the gulches were, not usable for homesteading, so those needed to be put into a different category. The commercial area in the Mackay site wasn't included in this request because those designations are staying exactly the same. So that's why those parcels weren't included in this request. And when we do land use amendments, we really want to have that fundamental good land use planning methodology applied, and that was what was used in this case. So we're just trying to make the Kaua'i Island Plan consistent now with this revised master plan for Hanapepe. And that's pretty much it. Unless you have questions.
Okay, don't see any hands up. So one hand just went up. Patty?
Hi, thank you. Thank you, Nancy. How often is the Hawaii Island Plan revised? How often do you go to revise it with the community?
Commissioner, the island plans have a shelf life of 20 years. So we do a comprehensive update once every 20 years. So in the interim, like for instance, this submittal, there might be changes to the island plan that we will take to the commission for their consideration that might be necessary. But a full comprehensive update of an island plan is done once every 20 years.
So Andrew, in Kaua'i, does the county have a sustainable community plan that they update every 5 or 10 years?
They do have a, forgot the term that it's called, but yes, there's an equivalent to a sustainable communities plan in Kaua'i for specific districts.
Could I respond? Thank you, Commissioner, for that question. Yeah, I actually went to several of the meetings for the West Kaua'i Community Development Plan because that was just recently updated. Participated in some hazard assessment work that was also done. The UH was helping with that. And so it was really exciting to be a part of that county process and advocating for our beneficiaries in that process, because we really need to work together. DHHL needs to work with the counties because there's shared infrastructure, that roadways, and especially for hazard mitigation and disaster preparedness. So that was, luckily the department was willing to send me over to Kaua'i to attend some of those meetings. And we have been meeting with the county long-range planning planners, Kaua'i and folks over there. And so we have a very good working relationship with them as well.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Patty. Other commissioners? Any questions, comments? Okay, if not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed?
Aye.
Seeing none opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, Andrew.
Mahalo, commissioners.
Thank you, commissioners.
Next agenda item up is H1. We have Rodney. Commissioners, you had the workshop yesterday on the sufficient sums budget. You've had some time to sleep on it. Are there any questions for Rodney? Okay, if not, Rodney, would you read the motion?
Okay. It is recommended that the Commission, 1, approve the fiscal biennium 2021 to 2023 operating and CIP budget request sufficient sums budget presented to the governor for consideration in the administration's executive budget request to the 2021 legislature. 2, approve the fiscal biennium 2021-2023 operating and CIP budget request, sufficient sums budget, be presented to the 2021 legislature. 3, authorize the chairman to adjust the operating and CIP budget request to make technical adjustments due to minor errors before it is incorporated into the administration's executive budget.
Okay, any discussion on the motion or questions? Commissioner Teruya?
Thank you.
You're breaking up.
I don't know why I sound so. Can you hear me, Rodney?
Yes.
Okay. This is a comment, Mr. Chair, and I did want to thank the department and Rodney for this remarkable budget, and to thank you for putting in a lot of funds under CIP in rehabilitation projects in a lot of our communities. I saw a lot of line items that affect my ahupu'aha that is needed. And so I am grateful for that CIPs and operatings that will help different homestead communities on this budget. My second question is, when it goes to ledge, how can we help as commissioners to lobby this budget? I mean, is it feasible that we talk to our designated senators to support our budget that's going through that we approve?
Yes, yes, absolutely. And in fact, to get other beneficiaries to support the budget and support the ask for sufficient sums.
Okay, thank you very much for that clarification.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner. Mike?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Rodney. Just a quick question. So once this is approved, we submit it to the governor. When do we anticipate getting decisions made on, what made it through and what didn't? When do we anticipate getting the results of our proposal, our budget biennium sent in?
We would anticipate some kind of decision making by the middle or ending part of November. And then because we need to prepare the executive budget for printing. So we'll know by the end of November, definitely.
Okay.
And then going forward, when the ledge opens, we're going to be meeting with the money committees, and we do a budget briefing normally to the two money committees, Ways and Means and the Finance Committee, and that's where we present our sufficient sums budget, and then during session we'll meet with the individual analysts, and normally it's we explain and we'll go down to the project, individual projects, and then we do a tour. We give a 50-cent tour for the money committees so that they can see what we're doing, the progress we've been making in the homestead.
Thank you, Rodney. One additional comment or question, and it goes along the lines with Patty's comment about providing support. I'm familiar that when there's House bills or Senate bills or resolutions that go through the ledge, that there's a number allocated to the bill or the whatever. Will there be something similar like that for this biennium budget, that we can go online and follow it, or how does that work?
Budget bill. No? There'll be a budget bill assigned to them.
Yeah, there will be a budget bill assigned to this, and the strategy that we're taking is that we're making this as a lump sum request. So we're going to go in, the full amount for each of those fiscal years. And as the session goes on, some of the different representatives or senators would like to, they may make it a separate bill, or, so it has a life of its own.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so whenever that assigned budget bill number is available, it would be helpful to share with us so that we can help and lobby for support. Thank you, Rodney, Chair.
Okay, so Mike, what happens is the governor's administrative budget goes to the House first. There are hearings in the House, and it goes over to the Senate side. And then at the end, I think 2/3 of the way through, it comes back to the House, and they compare versions. And then they work out differences in versions. And that's how the final budget is going to end up. I can tell you that we've been asked to look at our numbers and justify what is core mission. So what is core mission and what is nice to have. So that's the lens in which both the governor and the legislature is going to look at our asks. So I believe that we have some strong justification for what we're asking, because it is directly related to our mission and the purposes 1 through 4. And we have good justification as to where and how they meet up with those purposes. Okay?
Yep,
Russell?
thank you.
Chair, when you put together that justification piece, can you reduce that into talking points that we can have available when we go to support, please?
Sure, Russell. I just looked over to Lehua. She's our legislative analyst, and she will work with Rodney to provide you with regular updates and talking points.
Yeah, cannot be at the Rodney level though. Gotta be at the commissioner level, because we will get lost if we try and talk like Rodney.
That's why Lehua is going to help you translate.
Good point.
Okay?
Yeah.
Lehua will help you translate it into legislative language.
Thank you.
Okay.
No, Rodney is
Patty?
very good at that.
Yes, she is. Patty?
Yeah, one last one. It came to me. Will this upcoming ledge GIAs affect departmental? I mean, because of the COVID, will you see GIAs be cut or will be available for the next ledge?
What happens is during the legislative process, GIAs are submitted. However, the budget committees take a look at if they have money left over after issuing out the CIP and the administrative side, and then they have this list of GIA requests, and they'll see if they can fund and what they will fund. So GIAs are usually the last things that the House and the Senate will agree or disagree with.
And then one last one too, Mr. Chairman. Can neighborhood boards have this item on their agenda to support the DHHL legislative budget package?
That I'm going to turn to our Attorney General, Ryan.
I'm sorry, what was the question regarding neighborhood boards having this on their agenda?
Can neighborhood boards have the ability to have on the agenda to support the DHHL budget request fiscal millennium 2021-23?
Oh, as a matter of advocacy, that's fine.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Randy?
Yeah, just a quick add-on to what everyone else is saying about this budget. At our last Mokopuni Council meeting, it was brought up that it's important that our beneficiaries participate in lobbying the legislature for funding that is intended to benefit them. And so some of the younger beneficiaries who were in attendance had asked Blossom to do a workshop on how to go about organizing communities to participate in that process. So that's already tentatively scheduled, I think in the next couple of weeks. And I think that's an important message, that as we talk about tracking bills, acknowledging that as commissioners we would like to participate, it's that greater collective voice that's really important in this process. So.
Okay, mahalo, Randy. And just a quick historic note, the Shaw was actually created for that purpose. The Shaw was actually created to advocate to the legislature for funding for the department all those years ago.
Okay.
So that's just a quick historic note on that.
Okay.
Any other questions? Comments? Patty, you're muted. Go ahead.
Yeah, one last one. Because the AG, can you hear me? So because
Yes.
the AG noted that it was okay to neighborhood boards to have this item on the agenda to lobby their elected officials in their ahupu'aha, like Waianae Neighborhood Board, they have Nanakuli Neighborhood Board, they have a lot of homesteaders there. My question is, can we ask, the neighborhood board ask your staff lehu, can we please
Okay, I'm sorry, we didn't catch that last part. Could you repeat that?
So my question is, because of that, can your staff, DHHL staff, Lehua, who works with the budget, will she be available to attend neighborhood board meetings when this is on the agenda? That was my question.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Any other question, comments? Looking at the screen, don't see any hands up. So all those in favor of the motion, hold on.
Aye.
Rodney read the motion. Oh, Rodney read the motion. Sorry, I stand corrected. So we need someone to make a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded. Sorry, thank you, Leah, for catching that. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Seeing none, that motion is carried. Thank you, Randy.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Randy.
Randy.
Okay, going on to agenda item C3. And I believe we have, there she is on the screen
Ice cream lady.
with her ice cream behind her.
With the ice cream.
Oh, no.
Yes.
Oh.
Good morning, Commissioners. Hopefully Lindsay here for item C3. And this is for informational. It's an administrative rules, kind of an update on the supplemental dwelling units. Since last month there were a number of questions, and a number of you are newer to the commission. Before I go on, I just want to do one administrative matter. At the top, the date says September 19 and 20, and it should read October. So I apologize for any confusion that may have caused, but it is for this month, October 19 and 20. So because of the workshop last month, and a number of questions that came up, I decided that it might be a good idea to not only give you folks more information about the SDU draft, but also take the opportunity to provide some of the newer commissioners with more information about the rulemaking process itself. So for the department, the rulemaking process is lengthy in and of itself because we do beneficiary consultation in the beginning, before we do any of the legal requirements that are mandated by Hawaii revised statutes. So assuming all goes well, it's already a long process, 18 months plus. And so the SDU rules followed that process pretty smoothly until, as I mentioned last month, it came to our attention that there would probably be some difficulty for lessees in the county approval process. So I included a chart with information that we kind of got out of our meetings with the counties. And as you can see, they all kind of do it a little bit differently. Kaua'i and Honolulu will probably be the easiest because they have that pre-check or pre-clearance, so they kind of front load everything as much as possible in terms of the review with water and roads and zoning, and that kind of thing. And so that's done for those two counties free of charge before the building permit goes in. Maui County and Hawaii County are a little bit different. And Hawaii County at this point is unique because they have an MOU. The department and the county have an MOU, which is going to impact how the county reviews and ultimately how the department works with the county. Because that one, Hawaii County, they're going to review, if we declared zoning, they're going to review it under that zoning. But overall, it's going to be a back and forth with the SDU process. So the lessee would come to the department and apply. We would have the lease compliance check and all of that stuff. Then they would go to the county for the pre-clearance or their initial application, depending on the county itself. And then they would come back to the department for final approval to begin building. Within the submittal, I attached some of the older submittals. Exhibit C has the beneficiary consultation summary for this particular rule proposed. And I just wanted, because there was some question, I just wanted to draw attention to it because there was some question yesterday about liability to the trust and value of loans. So in Exhibit C, we actually asked a question to beneficiaries about that issue with regard to SDUs because it adds value. So we asked them about that question about value and liability to the trust. So as you contemplate those questions, there is a little bit of a resource for at least where beneficiaries are coming from on that particular question. And then finally, I just wanted to point out or highlight some of the major or significant sections within the rule. This is a pilot program, so for 5 years with a mandatory review after 3. And that's to kind of force the department to review what's going good, what's not going good, and make changes if any are necessary. The application and review process. After the meeting with the counties, we made a few changes to subsections A and B within that provision to, I think, more clearly reflect what the process would be. And that is attached also to the submittal. The old language is crossed out and the new language is underlined. Lot requirements. We added language about any memorandum of agreements because there was some concern from the counties about that. So we just added that we would follow the language of the MOUs or MOAs if they exist. And then, you know, the lessee must be in good standing at all times. And again, the supplemental units can be used as an ohana unit or as a rental unit, which would, if it's a rental unit, it does require Native Hawaiian as defined by the Hawaiian Homes Commission Act to rent. So that's a quick summary. If you folks have any questions.
Commissioners, questions for Hoku?
Hopefully.
Go ahead, Randy.
I missed the portion of what you had mentioned about the rentals. Can you go over that one more time?
Sure. In order for a lessee to rent out the SDU, or even if a lessee were to want to rent a portion of their own home, that renter is required to be a native Hawaiian, and that's under Section 208 of the Hawaiian Homes Commission Act. Now, in practice, right, that means that the department would have to verify the renter. So, in that option, we've discussed different ways if the department can host kind of like a rental site, so lessees can post that they have a rental unit, or different ways that we might be able to facilitate without endorsing, to kind of make that 50% requirement easier to determine. But it does pose quite a few implementation issues.
And Hoko, if I just might add, it's 50% and approval by the commission, correct?
Yeah.
So, thank you. We'll go to Patty, then Dennis. Patty?
Aloha? No. Aloha.
Hi.
Yeah.
Hi.
Yep. Aloha,
Here's my
Commissioner.
question. Okay, so you mentioned about the county approval process. I'm so curious because our county is so poor down here. So how long is the process that beneficiaries will have to go through for completion of their application? I'm just curious.
I'm not actually sure of the amount of time that it would take, but the city and county does a pre-check, right? So you go and they check the zoning, they check water and wastewater, roads and engineering, and that's all free of charge with the city and county. If you meet or get cleared on all of those items, then you would apply for the building permit, which, fire and that kind of thing is part of the building permit review process.
Okay, and go ahead. And the last one is, what do you mean by good standing at all times?
So good standing is that they have to be in lease compliance. So no unauthorized structures, that type of thing.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much.
And actually, since I mentioned no unauthorized structures, the rules do apply or do provide that if there is an existing non-compliant structure, the lessee can apply, and they would have to take the steps to come into compliance.
Thank you.
And Patty,
Yes.
compliance also means up to date with property taxes, because that's something that the department checks for.
Correct.
Dennis?
Yes, Hoku, thank you for the presentation. I have a question about I noticed in the beneficiary consultation, they covered the size of the SDU as it related to value. My concern is that I still think we need to regulate the size, because we're talking about a 1-bedroom, 1-bath with a kitchen. Are we limiting the amount of people that can live in that 1-bedroom, 1-bath, and a kitchen?
The change that we made to the rules, although we took out the lot square footage requirements, and the building requirements in terms of size, we rely on the counties. The rules rely on the county requirements for that. So size of the unit would be limited by the county and their lot to space ratios that they have established.
Okay, but we're still holding to 1-bedroom, 1-bath kitchen. Is that correct?
Let's see. So they get a separate kitchen, right? They get separate bathrooms. We have not defined that it's 1-in-1, but again, if the county's going to regulate the size, so if you would want 2 tiny bedrooms, within that unit, you could do it.
Yeah, my concern is the number of people and the impact on the community with additional people. I mean, I can understand if it was a typical Ohana unit is a 1-bedroom, 1-bath for a single person or a married couple or whatever. But if no matter how many bedrooms you have, you know, they may have 4 people living there. So are we following the county's health rules in terms of how many people can live in a 1-bedroom? Or are we just saying you can build anything smaller than the original resident?
Right. So the rules are not explicit in terms of how many people can live in there. So yeah, we're silent on that.
Right. I would be concerned about that because it really could put an impact on the community as far as vehicles, parking, and other amenities that we have to be concerned about. So I'd be a little concerned that we don't have some kind of a limit on the size, but I obviously leave that up to the county, or a limit on how many people can live in that unit. You got cars, so on and so forth.
Right. So the vehicle and parking issues are part of the county's check. So they're gonna do the roads and the engineering checks, and they're gonna check to see the lot size to make sure that if the county requires off-street parking, then part of their review will be is the lot big enough to provide off-street parking. So I know that's only part of your concern, but right, the county checks do provide for that.
Okay, that sort of covers part of my question. Yes, so the county would say, okay, if you're building this STU and you're gonna have whoever's going to be in there, you're allowed to have 1 car. Then that would be somewhere in the agreement, in the agreement or the application process that we need to approve as well. Correct?
Right.
So if we're 1 car, we could say, okay, you're in violation. You have to remove it. I don't want to get us into a whole bunch of, I guess, sending out the E-team saying, okay, you got 2 cars, now we got to deal with that. I mean, I don't want to put more workload. I like to have this as tight as possible so there's no question once it gets to the county. It has to come back to us to, obviously, I know what we do now is when it comes through Hawaiian Homes goes to county, comes back to Hawaiian Homes. We need to make sure we're agreeing to what the county's saying as well.
Right.
It doesn't put an impact on our infrastructure. And I'd be concerned about outside of just cars, the number of people living in now a household that has a full residence of, say, 5 people. Now you've got 4 more people. Now you got 9 people living next door to you. Back on the neighborhood. You see what I'm saying? Right. So yeah, I'd be concerned about that. I don't know how we fix that. I think there's got to be some kind of a limitation. The other concern I had is again, if you're going to rent it to a person that's not part of your Ohana, but they have to be 50% Hawaiian, that'll put, now we have to provide HQ background to make sure they are 50%. So it's a whole nother process. It puts an impact on HQ. I don't know how many homes that I'm sure there's a lot of people that are interested in this process because it makes sense for a lot of folks, but it's just putting a little more work on other departments. I just get concerned on how much do we want to do that. Also, there was a comment that possibly extending the Ohana determination by HHC or the Hawaiian Homes Act as to what we consider Ohana under that. There was a comment in here that we may want to that in the beneficiary consultation that there was some concern that Ohana could be more than what's defined in the act. So
Right.
something we have to consider as well.
Right. And there was discussion about and a number of comments about, what does ohana really mean, right? Are we talking about, Hanai family? Are we talking about, just your close circle that you consider maybe your chosen ohana? And, the act to provide those relationships. So it does, in the end, there is quite a bit of enforcement and implementation questions that come up with, are we going to verify that they're actually on, blood relatives within the definition of the Hawaiian Homes Commission Act, or how will all of that be handled?
One suggestion I might make is if this does go through, we do get these, and we do come up with a process that there's got to be some kind of a review on an annual basis, basically saying that, yes, this is the person living here, this person is approved to live here, just so that we don't go 5 years down the road and find out somebody's been living there for 5 years and they're not ohana. The person that was originally there left. I'm the monkey's uncle. Now I'm living there. I just try to get it clean so we don't have to deal with issues 10 years down the road and say, oh, wow, now we got to kick out Tutu. That's not ohana.
Right.
Right. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Dennis. Those were all good questions, and staff can consider that when the commission gives the approval, that it includes some conditions.
Okay.
That's one way that we might be able to deal with it. It's
Okay.
a pilot project, so you know that our people are very creative people, and they will look for all the loopholes that they can find.
Yes.
Okay, I would add to this conversation that in many of the cases where sewer is not available, the SDU will trigger from the Department of Health an assessment of the existing IWS to see if it is capable of handling the additional, volume is the best way to say it. So many of our folks are going to be have to make decisions, economic decisions, based upon their desire to have this unit and the additional money that it may cost to upgrade their individual wastewater system. Where there's sewer is available, it should not be a problem. Russell?
Hi, Chair. I had a question regarding section 10.3-40.07 B as in boy. 2. And this section starts, it reads, rental SDU is specifically for rental purposes, et cetera, But the next sentence says, or the third sentence says, the department shall prioritize applications from lessees with a verifiable potential tenant currently on a wait list. What does that mean?
Hoku? You gotta unmute Hoku.
Okay, sorry. That was one of the strategies that we talked about to try to make it easier for both lessees looking to rent the SDU and the department in terms of qualifying people to be tenants in an SDU. So if they are on a waiting list, so if it's an island-wide list, if it's a pastoral list, whichever waiting list that they're on, if the lessee has a potential tenant who is on the waiting list, then that application would be prioritized over an application that either doesn't have a tenant or who has a tenant that they say is 50%, but we need to verify.
And prioritize in the sense that it moves to the top of the pile for consideration.
Yes. Yeah.
It doesn't affect the position of the potential lessee on the list though, right? They don't.
No. Their status as a renter or a tenant in a supplemental dwelling unit will not have any effect on their number on the wait list, right? So they have their wait list number, and they can be a tenant in an SDU. That sentence is only referring to if they're on a wait list, because it's easier for the department to say, okay, you're on a wait list. You've been at least you've been cleared as 50%, so we don't need to check.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, other questions, commissioners? Go ahead, Mike.
Okay, thank you, Hokule. I just, for my understanding, on Exhibit B, where are we at on that exhibit?
We are at the point where we're kind of between requesting to the governor for public hearing and asking the attorney generals for approval as to form. So the attorney generals have to sign off on it before the request can go to the governor. So I'm 80% done drafting the request to the governor.
Okay.
And as soon as this meeting's over, I wanted to be sure you folks didn't have any additional comments or suggestions for the text of the rules. So once this meeting is over, I'll prepare the rules themselves for the attorney generals.
Okay, no, appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, additional questions? Commission members? Oh, go ahead, Zach.
Yeah, Chair, thank you. You kind of answered my question regarding the sewer. And I was going to ask that question, but the other thing that I wanted to ask, I guess, for the SDUs, it all depends on the county, each county's requirements for the county code, right, Hokule?
Yeah.
Right? So,
yes.
So if someone wanted it, as far as a structure is concerned, if someone wanted to use a shipping container to modify it to like a living structure, it comes down to the county, right? They will make the call.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And regarding if the sewer is sufficient enough to handle more than what it's taking now, correct?
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
And then it's a 5-year pilot project, only for residential, right?
Yeah.
So you can do this project within the 5 years, right?
Yes. Or at least get the approval within 5 years, right? So
Okay,
if you have.
Yeah. So what happens if the pilot, if it's after 5 years?
So after 5 years, if you have the approvals or if you have an SDU, this set of rules will continue to apply. We just won't add anymore.
Okay.
Assuming we decide to end the program.
So what's the possibility of continuing this program and making it a part of our mission as far as allowing beneficiaries to put another unit on their property? You think that's a good thing I think it's a good thing for us because, you know, all of these Filipinos, they're building homes and they get 2-3 homes on their lots and they're making plenty of money.
You
So,
blaming
you
the
know, I
Filipino.
think this is a good way of supplementing their income. You know what I'm saying? Even if they gotta put a 50% Hawaiian in that unit, but it's to me it's like an investment for our people, and I think it's a good. And I was thinking about this a long time ago. I says, Jesus, everybody can do that except homesteaders. You know, I think this is. I like the idea. That's all. Thank you very much, Hokule, for the work you've done, you and Joby.
Zachary, I would just add that I think it's going to be an economic decision for many of our beneficiaries because many of our beneficiaries are still on cesspool.
Yeah.
And this would trigger a conversion to an individual wastewater system.
Yeah.
As we've heard from Stuart, the Department of Health, if you're above what is called the no pass line or where they're trying to protect groundwater, it's now going to have to be an aerobic individual wastewater system, which is going to add, probably about 25% more to the cost. So, it's going to be an economic decision for our beneficiaries. And I think the pilot program will allow us to determine how much demand there is for this product and whether they can get their costs back. So,
yeah,
I'll go ahead. You want to respond, Zach?
No, thank you. Thank you very much. No.
Okay, mahalo.
Thanks,
I'll go to Patty. Patty first, then Dennis.
Yeah, hi. Okay, so when you draft and put this together to go to the AG's office, and prior to that, it's going to the governor. Does this body get to see that final copy before it goes to the governor?
So if you look at the process, either Exhibit B or the one that's there on the first page of the submittal. So in January of last year, so January of 2019, the commission approved going forward to request from the governor the public hearing approval. And of course, after that happened, the questions with the different counties came up, so we were delayed. Once we get approval for public hearings and the public hearings are conducted, the commission will see the report of the public hearing. So any testimony we got, any comments, if we're going to make any changes based on those comments, all of that will come to the commission for discussion before it's done. And once the commission okays that final version, it will go to governor for final signature.
Okay, great. Yeah, because Commissioner Neves brought up a lot of great suggestions to this plan. And so I just wanted to make sure that some of these things will be implemented or answered. And so thank you very much for that clarification.
Yeah, I do want to note though, if there are any suggestions for language changes. So if you're looking at Exhibit D as in dog and you have any language changes that you would like to suggest, it's better we do it now before public hearing than doing it after public hearing. Because if the change is significant enough, our attorney generals may recommend that we redo, so have public hearings for a second time.
Correct. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Patty. Dennis?
So, Hoku, I guess you sort of answered my question. It looks like Exhibit D is the refined version, sort of the final document we're working on. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. I mean, I've read through 3 documents. Now I finally find out the one I'm supposed to be reading. I'd like a little time to look at this. There's a couple comments I have, though, is I appreciate in here, it does show that you you need to first of all make sure that any dwelling units that you currently have that are not authorized need to be removed or brought up to code to be allowed. And also, I agree with the chair that I know in Kaua'i, if you're going to expand a home in Kaua'i, you're going to a septic system, and that's probably around 25,000 initially in most areas. But then again, in certain areas you have to go to aerobic system, which could be somewhere close to 50,000. So it's going to be limited. My concern is, and this is sort of outside of this process, but there are a lot of homes been built out here in my area on ag lands that are not authorized. I mean, I'm talking full-on homes. So I get concerned when, I agree with the program. I think it can be done. I just don't know if I have all the comments to, I can send you something. I don't know if I can make all those determinations right now, no.
Okay. Well, we can certainly wait to submit this to the AGs.
I'll leave that to the rest of the commission, but I'd like to look at it. If he is the final cleaned out draft, I looked at it a little bit closer and provide my comments.
Yes, D as in dog is the final that we're working with.
Rather than leave that an open-ended offer, can we get any comments from commissioners to Hoku within the next 14 days?
I can do that.
Okay. Other commissioners, take a look at it, get it to Hoku.
Can do.
Right after the election.
Okay.
Based on Exhibit D as in dog.
Correct.
Correct. Thank you.
Do we just email it to her, Mr. Chair?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Do we just email it to Hoku then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I'm sure if there's something significant, Hoku is going to let us know.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so if there are no other questions, thank you very much, Hoku. Be awaiting those comments.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hoku.
Okay, so our next meeting is scheduled for November 16th and November 17th. The format to be announced, but I will tell you, likely to be the same setup. The governor's EP emergency proclamation is scheduled to expire on November 30th, but I wouldn't keep that as a hard date. There are a couple of things that are in play right now. That is the Trans-Pacific travel system has opened up on October 15th, so we will have to monitor the impact on the COVID numbers. I think that will play into whether or not the 15th emergency proclamation opens up things or closes things down. I do want to remind you that after we adjourn this meeting, there's a short contested case, so please don't run away. I just want to thank you for your continued service and just suggest everybody continue to wear your mask and social distance and be safe. With that, I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Seeing none, the meeting is adjourned. 5-minute break, and then we'll come back for a contested case.
Okay.